Hello, everybody. How you doing? Somebody wants to say hi. Takita wants to say hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Oh my. So welcome everybody. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Hands together, head bowed. I am really excited for this live stream for a whole bunch of different things. For one thing, I'm giving you guys a 450 patch library for free. Most of them are factory patches, but there are 12 at the end of the list for this. I'm talking about Obsession. This is a new synth I'm going to show you in the review that just came out from Synapse. They do Dune 3. They did What's the One or something like that for the Mini Moog model. They've done their take on the vintage Oberheim. And I wouldn't really classify it as vintage Oberheim very much. What it does have that makes it classic is the ability for each of the voices to have a huge number of parameters changed. We're going to look at that. I have saved as a Unify patch every factory patch so that you can easily start up with one sound, add additionals, and then set this to be a split. And then go find yourself a bass sound down here somewhere and say, let's add this to it. And then have this so that it stops right here. Now we have a split. So I just made a patch with 4 obsessions. So having all the patches unified, as it's known, is this artwork I just did before we started this is pretty fun. So if you own Obsession and you own Unify, this will be a free download to get this library. There's some pads that I created like this one that are, if you look, it's actually from scratch. They didn't have a pad with the whole, one of the big things in Obsession that makes it unique to me is it's one of the first plugins to have a shimmer in the reverbs so that you can, here's without it. This is your normal pad. Bring up shimmer. Aftertouch, stuff like that. So this is something I'll show you more of. We'll cover this more. I'm going to also show you Stutter Edit 2, which I'm not a big fan of how Isotope is like 0 updates for Break Tweaker. There are really 0 updates for Stutter Edit in the original form. But Stutter Edit 2 is definitely something you want to know about. It's very, very cool, very powerful. Its interface isn't my favorite. Hey, you guys, welcome. Good to see you all. I'm looking at the chat for the first time. Let's see here what's going on. But I'll show you that. It's really cool in Unify because we let MIDI data pass straight through to effects. So I've found some cool ways to use it already. I'm sure there's other ways to use it that I haven't even discovered yet. Just grabbed it. Much needed. Stutter Edit is very cool. Hey, Sonny, Bruce, Keith, Tom, all you guys. Good to see all the smiling faces and happy texts. Also, the big news is Unify 1.1.7 is out. and it's great. We've done some nice things. For example, there is now a close button. We still don't remember if the browser is open and closed. That's something we have to ask Shane to do. It's actually really hard to program that, so that's why it hasn't happened. But you can now open and close the windows. In the future, the browser will remember when it's opened and closed too. If you close the window now, the browser closes again. But you can pop it back open right there. But there's now a close button on all the various plugin windows, which is nice. So you can close from here instead of just clicking this again, which is what I've kind of gotten used to. But there's now a close button. We did a whole lot of fixes. We were working hard on crashes, various couple crashes that were really difficult to track down. We solved. We also were able to fix further refining layers of Unify inside of Unify. Like this right here is 3 additional layers that each one of these is a separate Unify plugin. And we've now made it so that when you go in here and look at the layer presets, there's no longer MIDI controller numbers assigned to each of the knobs of the embedded Unifies. And we've also made it so that from the main Unify, if you go to the knob assignments and you pop it up, we automatically are able to propagate assignments for each layer so you can turn them off. So that if you call up a couple different drums and one of them is doing something weird you don't like, you can go to the one that's changing that for that layer and turn it off so it doesn't actually listen to that layer's knob for that of these 8 macro knobs. And we have settings now here for these settings to automatically link or to add macro links. We also have, when you get to the knob presets, go back over here, the ability to remove or add embedded links as a command, which is nice. We also have, per my request, Shane was able to do this, where you can copy a knob, so you can paste it on another knob. So if you were trying to change the order around, if you want to move something that you set up all this really cool stuff on knob 1, now you want it on knob 8, or let's say knob 2, you say copy here, go over here and say paste, and boom, it'll paste. Right now it doesn't replace, so be aware if you did this on top of something that was already set up, it's going to add them. So we'll look at making one that's a paste replace in the future, but just know you'd want to go into the knob that you're going to assign stuff to and turn everything off first. And then you could go over here and you could say paste, and now it would give you the assignments that you set up that were on knob 1. So that's cool. There's a couple other things. There's a change log we have that shows you everything that's going on, but just some further refinements. We actually have plans for, let's just say, further domesticating and improving where we can the interface for Unify now that this update is done. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Good evening, Sunny from France. Hey, David. Oh, dude, you're in Portland. Yeah, I'm using a new camera for the video, so it should look better. Using my Sony a6000. It's not the big camera. I have a big Sony camera as well, but the a6000 is got a great. This actually was the first the camera I got from Sony that impressed me with their cameras. The sense around it is really great. And I have it's an 18 to like 105 lens. So we could go over here and, zoom. Zoom it in, zoom it out. So you can set about right there. That's good. And center it, because we like to be centered. All right. Taquita, what do you think? Taquita's here hanging out. She wants you guys to know that Cloud City is still on sale for $49. Isn't that right? That's right. That's right. And we love Cloud City. It's the coolest. It's the coolest. It stops being on sale midnight of July 1st. So if you want to get definitely the cutting edge, what you can do with Unify 1.1 with everything, you want Cloud City. There's so much you can do here to see I hear percussion. Be able to build this in real time from percussion, drums, and tongue drum samples. And then we can take this whole thing, let's transpose this up an octave, and then limit this so that it only plays the bottom half of the keyboard. Let's add another thing. Let's see what else can we add. And let's add a bell on top. And let's limit it to here. I'm just jamming, you know. I'm actually going to be making some videos, support videos, about how to use all the parameters and things inside of Unify. They're actually hard videos to make because there's a lot here, and it's very easy for me to deep dive and so much here. The BPM splits, I only showed you some of these. Some of these are so cool. This is all the same MIDI file. And then down below, fun stuff. So Cloud City is, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the exact parameters, how many patches it is and stuff. Hold on here. So I have to look at my own site. There's, go there. 470 patches, actually like 800 megabytes in memory, right? I believe there's over 3,000 some hundred number of samples inside of this library. It's a huge library. I'm very proud of where it came from. What it can do is just to go from that to the remix. So there's all sorts of sounds for all sorts of genres, from chill to techno to dance. Right? To cool poppy things. Huge basses. And the bass doesn't play. Until you play it. So it's not sequenced in this case. Up high. That's sequenced with MIDI files. And then the left-hand bass, I had sustain bypassed so that the pitch, the sustain pedal, doesn't affect it, so you can play. Jam around if you want, have a good time. So that is the Cloud City exciting moment. So just be aware, July 1st at midnight, it goes to its rightful retail price of $59, but right now it's $49. So if you want new samples, patches, 700 plus MIDI files, I will be doing a free update to this library. I think I'm going to go a little bit past July 1st, just because there's more I want to do. But we have this whole layer preset that we're going to be adding. All of these will be added in the update so that you can add these as separate layers just by clicking and if I wanted to, I could go to the eggshell shaker. I could say add an eggshell shaker. And I want to add, let's say, recycle groove. Then go to MIDI box. Right? So you'll be able to add things from the layer menu into these very quickly. It's different when you're loading a Unify layer into Unify. It's also loading the master layer, the master effects, and auxiliary buses. Whereas this is just saying, give me a new layer that has a specific sound on it. And I could go over here to a kick. Say I want to have a big kick. Or this is a crash. Crash. I say I want to add a kick too, so we go add me a kick, so down here. And in this case, let's go over here. So you can add layers to build and make more complex things from what they already are. That will be coming in the free update, but I want a little bit more time because I want all of these BPM percussion and all these BPM drum patches to be layer presets. There's like 300 of them. And so my trusty Taylor, my assistant Taylor Harris, is back to being a full-time Plugin Guru employee. Some of you have written tech support and gotten replies from him. I'm really happy. I've been able to financially afford bringing him back on board. So for you buying the libraries, you're helping me hire other people. So thank you very much. It's awesome. So that's all good stuff. Let's see here. Now, a number of people, I just want to point out one thing. A lot of people are bringing up missing plugins. You're starting to get some of these additional libraries, and we're about to release this free library for Obsession. And if it pops up, let's do this. If I go to the let's do this. We'll do it this way. So I'm going to open up the plugin list. We're going to do a little surgery so you guys can see how this works. If I am, let's find Obsession. So we go scrolling down the list to Obsession. Obsession. I'm going to right click and say remove from the list. And many of you guys prefer to use VST3 or audio unit. So I'm going to go to the audio unit folder and I'm going to say Obsession. And I'm going to drag this over. So a lot of you are only using, say, audio units, right? So see where it now says Obsession audio units. So when I go to an init patch and I go down the list, and I go to, this is Synapse, right? I can say Obsession, it loads. Great, awesome. I go to this library that we're gonna release for free and I try to load it and you get this error message. This is because all of the patches in any of these libraries of support, anything for the Discover, for the BBC Discover plugin from Spitfire Audio, anything for this library here, there are other unified libraries coming. Unified is a direction I'm going to go pretty hard in. We're going to have probably some of the other commercial plugins. We will save out all of their patches in a unified format. There's a new plugin you guys don't even know about I worked on coming out later this month that will come out with a unified library that's going to blow you guys away. So you see this error message because Obsession right now, I'm looking at the audio unit version, and everything we do, we save in VST format. So what you have to do is go to your VST folder. You can have both. You can have the audio unit and the VST if you want. Obsession is right here in the VST, not the VST3, not the audio unit. Repeat after me. Not the VST3, not the audio unit, right? It's the VST. Drag it over here. Now when you go to these patches, they load. Yay! That's because everything we do uses the VST plugin, which means you have to let Unify know where the VST version is at. It can't read the audio unit or the VST3 version. It has to be VST. It can be that you have audio units too, but for the libraries that we support, you have to have the VST3. Or not VST3, but the VST. The reason is because compatibility. I can save these patches on my Mac. I can give you a link. Let's go over here to Dropbox. I will drop this into the chat. I'll put it into the video description as well. I have a couple freebies for you guys today that will blow you away. So here we go. First freebie, Unified Obsession. Copy the link. Go to our chat. Paste. Boom. You have a 450 patch library of the factory patches from Obsession, plus some additional patches that I have made at the end of the list as a free download if you own Obsession and Unify. It takes owning both the plugin and that. And I'll put right here in our description. Unified. I never spell unified right. If I need Obsession library. Do they work with the demo? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't have the demo here. I bought it the second it came out to work with. You tell me. Download them. Put them into Unify. Yeah. I don't think they'll play, it depends. I have a feeling that they probably called it Obsession Demo, probably. So it might not. Maybe you remember I asked weeks ago if I could get help with installing Unify because I am 100% blind. I am so sorry, my friend, Patrick. You'll need someone to help you. I wish I was where you lived. I'd come over and help set it up. I can all that my group channels and say MIDI channels and QBs. You can do a certain point, but you can't do this type of stuff where you have MIDI files that you created loaded in at the same time with samples. And the other place that we are really unique with Unify is you can call up and right click and add another layer. Go to special effects, add this. Seamless. Then turn these all down by option drag. And then let's add a Skywalker. You can't do this with anywhere else, my friend. Let's go BPM bass. And let's say we want to add this. Get rid of it. No clicks, no glitches. So building this seamlessly in real time, good luck. If you want to try it somewhere else, go for it. The nice thing with this is you can send these to your friends somewhere else. They can load them no matter what DAW they use, and it's fast. There's nothing faster, and every one of these layers is on a separate core of your computer. So each one of these has the true 16 voices of polyphony that Unify has. You can't do this anywhere else. Plus, I could go into the knobs and I have access to every parameter of the plugins that I am talking to assign to macro knobs, and then do multi breakpoint. Like the mixer here is doing multi breakpoints on multiple levels for every patch. Every time you call up a patch, it's signed. Go to the envelopes. It's all built in automatically. So let me show you Obsession real quick, since we're looking at it and talking about it. This is a new synthesizer from Synapse. They are a good company. They've been around for a long time. One of my favorite synthesizers was called, I believe, Scorpion. Back in the 90s, it was truly unique. Are Skippy's Obsession patches the same that are in Obsession? Yes. Well, to start with, these first patches up here, all the way to the Z category, these are all the factory patches. Inside of Obsession, let's go to the OB Wannabe category. You can click right here. Here's their browser, which is much more difficult to use and navigate. So you can see these are all the patches that come with Obsession. Okay. We have them all listed right here so that there's the same patches with same basic names and categories. I actually want to apologize. I think there are some duplicates in this list because Taylor did half of it and I did half of it, and we each use different categories. So if you guys see any duplicate patch names, please let me know and I'll revise and clean up the library. But it's supposed to be only 420 and it's like 440. So there's like 20 duplicates in there somewhere. So if some of you have time and love to do that kind of stuff, let's not forget Dune, right? Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. Okay, Dune 3. See, one of these things, if you guys want to help, if somebody wants, send me an email before you do it. So we should be in communication to just john@pluginguru.com. If somebody else wants to unify a plugin that they love, Zebra 2, if you want to do Dune 3, I want to set up the knobs, but this is actually something we can do after the fact. What's really cool is you can call up from init. Check this out. I don't know if you guys know about this ability. Let's call up Obsession. Let's go through the patches. I have saved a macro definition, what's called. So I can say load, and I can say Obsession, and you saw something you weren't supposed to see there, but that's okay. So I'm not going to talk about it. And now you have these knobs. So I can go through each patch and save my macro definitions that I create. Or if you want to go through and set up the 8 so that they're set up, I want them to be consistent from patch to patch. All these patches have the same assignments. So you could right click, add as many of these as you want. But the idea is there's going to be a category of libraries called Unified. And it can be Unified Bloop, Unified Bloop, Unified Obsession, so that libraries that are from plugins that are the factory patches, they've been unified so you can quickly load them and play with them in the interface of Unify. So it just makes it really easier to use. That's all it is. So here is Obsession. Let's play with it for a minute. Let's go to init. They call this a vintage synth. And I say it's not a vintage synth. Not by a long shot. So let's do this. Let's make it larger so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. So what they have that does make it kind of vintage is that it can do 8 or 16 voices, and you have an adjustment parameter for all of these parameters in each of the voices. So each voice could be radically different. If you right click in the interface, you can say initialize. So now, this is like most synthesizers, right? They do have a parameter on the second page called organic. which will do pretty much very, very similar, but on a random basis to what these 8 knobs do if you right click and say randomize the voice parameters. Now, so you can go to each voice and they have a spread parameter, which is ping pong left and right for I'm not hearing much of a spread there, are you? When you go here, it does. Anyway, so the layout of this is a little strange. There's not a mixer section, so you can't control the volume of oscillator 1 versus oscillator of volume 2. You do have a mixer section right here for turning on noise, oscillator 2, or oscillator 1. Oh, I see. So they give you 2 volume controls. If you click once, it goes to like 50%, and you click it again. The other way to do this, I have found, is that you can go over here to their modulation list, and they have what's called a constant value, and you can set this to oscillator 2 volume, and now you have control over it. They do have fine tune for oscillator 2 here, but their tuning is kind of interesting. This is 5 octaves, and this is 4. There is a sync, there is pitchy G to sync. Turn on sync. X mod. Shane is texting me something. Oh, save. Yes. I thought that was a Shane beep. So you can get synthetic kind of things like that, but it doesn't have that kind of warm, woody, vintage kind of a vibe to it. It's very snappy, poppy. The envelopes are very linear. It does have a very bold sawtooth, so for the brass kind of sounds, it is really nice. This horn is really... So it can get kind of nice organic analog. Now there's a couple things in this synth that really take it clear out of vintage into new territory. For one thing, the LFO, you notice, has a sine wave, square, sample, and hold. And then it has this third thing that shows steps. Notice, first of all, that this doesn't have sync. There's no BPM button. The only way to go sync is when you go to steps. And now it's sync based. And then you go to the second page to see the steps. And he's using the steps right now 128, although you can go between 4 to 128 to do like the spit of a trumpet. So if you click around through this, you can make it a trumpet that's got too much water in the valves. And it doesn't have an arpeggiator. So this is what they use for all their sync stuff that you're hearing, which means if you play chords, it's playing chords and then transposing all the steps and so forth. The other thing that makes this really unique is what I showed earlier, and that's the reverb has a shimmer parameter set in it. And I haven't seen this show up yet in another synth. So you can... pretty cool. And it's all based on the regenerating additional octaves. So if you have this lower, it's just one octave. So we could go to the well, you only have 6 assignment, modulation, and source destination points, which is not enough. Even with the limited set of parameters here, I wish there was more. That's why the real-time knobs in Unify are great. Also, something that's interesting to point out is that while this list does have a fairly decent set of parameters, if you go to Unify and you look at the list of parameters that we have access to here for this plugin, it's much larger. Many more parameters, including all the source destinations, so you could be changing sources and destinations and amounts. The voice muting is there. There are 2 parts. The one thing that's also cool with Obsession is that it is able to do either single, dual, or split. But remember that this is going to eat up and share these voices of polyphony. What's nice with Unify is you can do dual and split and 5 and 6 and 7, and they each keep their 16 voices of polyphony. So again, there's advantages to working in the Unify plugin instead of just Obsession all by itself. It's a very nice synthesizer. It starts to sound very similar after a while, which is the case with a lot of these analog type synthesizers. There's not a lot of parameters to get outside of a certain type of a vibe of sound. I like actually just using this interface to access patches. So here, let's go over here and let's make this be big again. Actually shrink it a little bit so it fits like that and like that. I have, by the way, a Firewire video switcher coming. So very soon I'll be able to have multiple feeds and push buttons and have my top camera is sitting up there just looking at us. So there's lots of basses. Right? Nice. Tons, well, not a ton of bells, but BPM basses. And to do this type of stuff, you'll notice this is using the step sequencers. So you can modify these really easy. If you need more steps, you make it 16. 828. They need to have reset and stuff. They kind of got this out the door a little fast. It would be nice to have some helpers, like go over here and say reset, so it says everything back at 0. It's really hard to get back to 0. There's no place that shows you a value, and it does fine tuning. So trying to get all 4 to be 0 is a pain. So it'd be nice to have value displays, stuff like that. Hey, it's okay. The delay, I should also point out, is a little disappointing in that there's no ping pong or anything. There is a delay that's got stereo width. There's no ping pong, no chance to get any stereo variety whatsoever out of the delay. It also has a chorus. It can also be ensemble. The order of the effects is always set. You can't put the chorus before the reverb. The reverb always goes into the chorus. So you're going to always have a chorus reverb effect. Just ADSR envelopes. Pulse width over here, which listens to the LFO rate and so forth. It's not bad. It's, I think, $99. It's a nice synth. There's a lot of patches. It kind of fits nicely here, we can do this. I have made some, because I'm making a video on this. So I have some comparisons between this and 3 other Oberheims. So we could go to like a 2 oscillator saw pad. Here is Obsession. Here's our own lovely built-in OBXD, which has a wonderful brass tone. None of the others have the brass tone of OBXD, I tell you. This is Arturia's. And then finally, one that I actually did factory voicing on, and that's the Oberhausen. If you compare that to it just doesn't have that kind of same roundness. Smooth. Let's turn this down just a little bit. It's interesting how the Arturia has a bit of resonance. Hear that? You don't hear that? So they each are different. They each have different vibes. If you go to the Snappy or the XM, let's do Sharp filter EGs. Here's Oberhausen. Here's OBXD. Here's the Arturia. And then Oberhausen. That's not really Oberhausen's forte. It's not snappy like that. In fact, you have to do some fairly difficult, challenging tricks on the mod page to stack modulations. I'd probably stack this again with another envelope. Oh, not frequency, but filter frequency. The cool thing with Oberhausen is this FM. I don't think I have the volume up here. That's where Oberhausen just does some really cool stuff. So there's also, here's Xmod to show you different variations on again, Oberhausen has the most wonderful organic. Compare that to Obsession. Turn on sync. It'll scream. So they all have their own personality. It's like you could use all of them for different things at the same time. It's kind of like different colors. It's better to use different ones instead of everything from the same one sometimes. So hope that makes some sense to you guys. Okay, so Oberhausen is $99. You can find that at the Synapse Audio. It's actually Synapse-Audio is the website. I would suggest trying out the demo if nothing else. You can download a demo for the Mac, or you can buy it. $99 US, okay? So that is pretty cool. Next up, let's get into some crazy mind-blowing future production stuff. This is with Isotopes, Stutter Edit 2. This is insane, truly insane. BT, I don't know if you've seen any of his live show. He did a tour with Howard Jones, and he had a keyboard stand where this is with him pushing the keyboard stand forward, so it's like about ready to fall over into the people in the front of the audience. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I have the original Stutter Edit, and I have Stutter Edit 2. And Takita's warming up my lap, so I'm actually going to move her over to the sofa, because, one second. Come over here. There you go. And I lost my earbuds. Come back here, guys. Let's see here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, my lap's all sweaty. Warm little puppy, and it's warm upstairs because it's sunny. Summer day. Okay, so now what I have found that's really cool is, check this out. Let's go over Cloud City to the BPM drums. Let's call up something like okay. And I'm actually going to get rid of the additional effects here. Okay. Now, we're going to go over here to, I don't think I put them into any groups. So we just got to go to Isotope. The original Stutter Edit from many years ago is right here. And what I have found is what you do is I go to a note and I set it off. And then I'm going to go to the drum groove and I'm going to say, play that note and don't transpose. So now I can play. I'm playing this note right here. I'll show you that I'm playing. And then you go to Stutter Edit, either 1 or 2, and you can say off. I'll show you in a minute how to do it in Stutter Edit 2. But what's fun with this is that we send MIDI data automatically through to effects. This is something you can't do when you're DAW unless you just can't. It has to be routed through an audio channel. You have to use bring it in as a bus. You don't have to do that with Unify. So now I have the regular groove, and then anywhere I play, right? You can actually get crazier if you go over here and you set it to mono latch and you turn it on. So now when you play, hands off. And now, right? Type of thing. And then you'd probably want to go over here and call up some of the other presets. This bank is kind of weird. You could go to BT signature banks and go like light cycle and so a lot of the original Stutter Edit was timing. Flange times, things like that, right? Well, oh my God. The handful of years that they've had to play with Stutter Edit and do things, they've gone monkey crazy. So check this out. So if we go over here and go Isotope and go Stutter Edit 2. I should say batshit crazy or something. But so go to one of them and play it, and then go right here and you can say, clear this gesture. So I still have one note that's clear. So you can go back to this original note. You have a lot more stuff going on. They've got now all sorts of gated effects. There's a volume limiter. You can click here for the envelope to create like LFO tool. See if I don't even know what I'm doing with this stuff here. There's other presets. You can see the keys, so you can. Let's go to Factory Banks, BT Signature Bank, New World 2.0. So you can do crazy stuff. Let's go to this one here and say clear. So I don't know, I haven't spent enough time with this to be able to sit with you and say, notice how you do this and all these tricks. I haven't, the interface, it's dark. I wish it wasn't quite as dark in interface, but here's the layout. You've got these buffer and stutter effects, which can take up the whole screen over here. If you go, I think if you click here, there, you can see where you can set the parameters. Crazy stuff, right? Then there's a buffer edit, which will shift and delay. And see, it's a full delay right now. And you can have them be separate. So you can say, make them separate. So then I think, how do I make it separate? Grid random. I've seen some examples where it can maybe jitter. You can edit your jitter. Hey, like jitterbox, but a little bit more crazy. Buffer raids. Anyway, so that's these two effects. Then there's distortion, lo-fi, chorus, comb filter, reverb. Which can have wobble, size. Right? This crazy stuff. Flangers. I think I have, let's turn off butterfly. And everything has a curve for how it works. So if you turn it on, it can start here. So you can create, and not only that, but now tape stop is there. So you can have it go along. And you can have it be one shot. So they have this thing here where they have, where is it? Palindrome. You can also change the order of all these effects. So if you want the tape stop to be somewhere else in the order, you can change it around. It's nuts, totally nuts. So what you can do, here, let's do this. Let's go copy this setting. So let's say copy plugin state. Let's call up a different groove that might work better. That might be fun. Let's speed it up. So let's go over here. Let's call back up Stutter Edit. So go isotope, Stutter Edit 2. And again, choose some note, whatever you want it to be. Well, you need to set this up first. So go to MIDI box, turn off the transpose by course. So if you turn that off, and well, actually let's turn it on and play first so it's at normal pitch. So now you have the same drum groove everywhere. But then choose some note that's not doing something you like. I like that. I like that. I like them all. All right, middle C. Okay, whatever it is, just go over here to the little dash dash and say clear the gesture. So now I could sequence into Logic or whatever I wanted. I could go over here and say, right? So I've recorded that. And by having a note that's safe, I can have the normal groove and then I can go out into all sorts of weird stuff. So when I play it back, right? So you can do that, bounce it to audio, and now use these pieces. But I've done it all in one pass with Unify. So that's a really cool thing that we have with by sending MIDI data that you play on the keyboard straight to the effects. There's a reverb made by the Infected Mushroom guys that it actually is a problem. I think it's called Comment. You're playing a keyboard sound and you're playing different notes and the reverb time and everything is changing. So it doesn't work in some cases. With Stutter Edit, it's a perfect marriage because you just choose one note. For any groove, you could, here, check this out. This will be really fun. So let's save this set. I like that set. So we go, that's just the default set, whatever it is, right? So we could go over here. Let's go to BPM perk. Let's see what this sounds like on percussion. So let's go to the world perk. These worldly get downs are really cool. What could Stutter Edit do to this? Let's find out. So let's go over here, all effects. Let's have this one be our clear gestures. And I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna, a couple things. MIDI box, don't transpose pitch, right? So that way anywhere I play on the keyboard, I just get weird stutter edit. I don't get pitch going up and down too. And let's go over here and let's set it to mono latch and turn it on. So. Crazy. So it's really, really fun and it's cool. There's other things you can do with Stutter Edit, of course. I don't think they have any more. They used to have this thing called the generator, remember? I don't think it has a generator mode. It has help where it can say auto to show you all the torturous things you have to set up in order to get it to work inside of Logic or whatever. It's smart aware. It knows what sequencer you're using. So over here on this little help button, it will show you how to set it up. But again, if you call it up in Unify, you just load it up, load up a groove, and play. It's just nuts. And again, once you've done this, only use a little bit of this. Don't go BT every 4 measures or something. Have it just be a little something to pop in for ear candy in your tracks. And you'll get a lot more thank yous than if it's just, you know. mean, go Richard Devine if you want. You can do it, but you don't have to. Okay? So now throws them all in a blender. Yes, Unify lets you blender everything. It's a good time. So we haven't even gotten into like layering. Like we could say, duplicate this layer and call up a whole different groove, different drum kit. We could go over here to a different drum kit just for insanity. All I did was change the Guru sampler from the percussion kit to the Chaos Iconic kit. So it's playing the same MIDI file. And if you want to get more sick, go to this Stutter edit and choose a different set of patches. Like, let's go over here to, hey, experimental, sure. Amplitude effects and wacky. Yeah! I could use that for a groove. Too fun, too fun. So that is Stutter Edit. I think it is, if you own Stutter Edit 2, which they've had it at $49 forever, over and over and over, it's a $79 price for it. And it definitely gives you some crazy cutting edge tools to do really, really cool stuff. I mean, that's the whole track right there. Ow! I will tell you that's Stutter Edit 2's fault. There's something that's going on with its sample rate. I was trying to solve it to get something to Shane so we could look at it. One of the notes in some of the presets does some really weird. I gotta save this. So let's go one. Save as someone up above said, sick. And yes, that was a Tonda for those of you playing along at home. Was it S-I-Q-U-E? I love that name. That's very cool. That was sick, dude. What note was it? Oh, that's gonna be weird. Just nuts. So again, be careful. Don't go crazy with it, but a little bit of that in your mix is really, really cool. And I think there's still a place for it. It's a little bit dated just because we've heard that effect. You know, BT, he's using it on every song that he does. So, but you can use it sparingly and creatively for stuff like that. That's just... yeah, it's fun. I gotta be careful, I'm gonna blow up again. So, my friends, that is Stutter Edit 2. The last thing I wanna show you, and this is just something I'm gonna mention briefly, And I'm going to put a link in our chat. I'll put it in the description. I'll be sending out a mailer about this. One of our customers did a really cool thing and spent the time to make NKS patches for the NKS system for all of the Unify standard library. We didn't do this. He did it and sent them to me and is letting me give them to you guys for free. So if you want them, if you work in the NKS format, you're going to be happy. I'm not going to say too much on the negative, but it is a very slow interface to get around on. Once you get used to Unify where you can click and it immediately loads, choosing patches and waiting while it loads a completely different plugin in a very, very slow way that takes up much longer time than if we had the same patches in Unify, they would load so much faster. It's not even funny. But it is an interface integrated into a lot of people's keyboards, and you like to work that way. Please follow the instructions on this. He wrote information in a little README file. There's no tech support for this. This isn't something we're officially releasing. We are not saying we're NKS compliant. It might crash. In fact, chances are it will crash. He has done a thing where every single category has an init patch. Load that first. He explains that some of our more complex BPM splits and stuff, it's too much for complete control to access, and so it will freak out in some way and lock up. So you load the init patch first, and then you can load other things, and apparently it doesn't crash. I've worked with it, and working with it that way, it works pretty good, okay? But this is not official. This is a side channel I'm sharing because he gave and said a permission to work with. So there you go. No sound on laptop or desktop. Lane Cam. No sound for me. No sound for you on what? I'm looking to see what else we have in your chat up here. Remember, you can send tech support email to unifysupport@pluginguru.com and we will work. Oh, good. Just got it now. Okay. I like tech support. We can do it live, real time, and get everybody fixed up and solved. So that is there for you guys to enjoy. Play with it. Send us feedback. If you want to refine it, this is kind of a community thing to support and do. I'm not even going to show it here because, again, it's from one of our customers and you can work with it. I was going to ask you something. I can't remember what it was. Well, if you think of what you wanted to ask away because we're here to help. Let me show you a couple other things with the Obsession library right here. Again, I want to point out it starts with all the factory patches, and then at the end are the Z patches. It starts with the bass. Pad is next. And this is where it's kind of fun, because Obsession doesn't have an arpeggiator built into it, so we're using Blue Arp. I'm just having it do random. And if you want to change the pattern, you just have to say no sound. You could go to key select if you want it to be different notes of what you're playing. Even though it's randomizing, it will still let it do its thing. Okay. And then this is playing a harp that's been modified. And then on top of that is a pan flute from Unify. Oh, how do you get the discovery bonus? Here, let me give that to you. It's right here. Copy the link. Go to our wonderful chat. I'll put this in the chat as well. Now, again, you have to use the VST version. If you try to use any other version of the plugin, it will not load. It will give you just the piano. I get email all the time. I load DiscoverStation, everything's silent except for the one that has the piano. And it's because the piano is built into Unify and you're using one of the other flavors of the plugin. And so just change it to VST. I get an email back saying, thanks, all works. In fact, I even made graphics for tech support because I have so often, this is the tech support question we get. Check this out. Text support photos. Here is the photo for VST. No, not that. Not that. Oh, do I not have it here? Oh, let me go over here to my desktop for a second. You got to see this because I worked really hard on this image and it will help you understand. So you go like this and date modified and go to the top of the list. It'll take me a minute to find it. Loading VST into here. There's a nice picture to help you. See that? Make sure it shows on the whole screen. Oh, missing a little bit. So go like this and get my mug out of the way. Whoop. See? So if you want, you can go to your Finder, find the two VST plugins and drag them directly into the plugin by clicking the little plugin. Or under Operations inside of Unify. We'll get this back. If you go to Unify, we have the ability also right here. Go to the plugins right here, and it will say Known Plugins. Operations, select plugin files to scan. You can go to your VST folder, which on the Mac is located Macintosh Library Audio Plugins VST. Then you can say BBC, let's see, let's go by alphabetically, and here's BBC Symphony. Hit open, boom. You have now added the VST version. Now when you go to the Discover library, you can say load up all 5 string patches. And we could go over to Obsession and have some fun. Let's go over here. Right click, say load Shimmer Summit. Option, click to turn it down so it's not distorting. Right? So it's super cool to have access to all these different sounds. I'm going to be working on a library for the BBC DiscoverStation. These are the 5 patches that are for free. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 6, because there's the brass. You have to own the BBC Discovery. It's a $49 Spitfire Orchestra library. Sometimes it does this where you don't see the top, where you can close it. So just double click, open it again. I think actually if you go over here to the expander button, that will now give you the controls for it. But you have all of the sections of an orchestra. I'm getting pinged again. Let's see here. Can you please tell us the name of that amazing photographer you get? Oh, yes, I will tell you that. So, but let me finish this. So you have access to the woodwinds. Where do you show how to record MIDI CC? Oh, MIDI files. Okay, that's it. We're getting all over the place. So that's DiscoverStation. You can go to the full orchestra, which loads up 3 different Unify that have the full orchestras for all the strings, brass, and woodwinds. And then the grand piano loads the Steinway Church Grand. So we're loading up 15 plugins because there's 5 BBC for the strings, 5 BBC for the brass, 5 BBC for the woodwinds, and then the piano, our church Steinway. And I'm controlled real time. Right? So this is a bonus library. It will become a huge library with over 128 patches in the coming weeks. That's my one of the things I'm going to be working on next after Cloud City update. Now, someone was asking about the photography in Cloud City. There's a handful of photos from a friend of mine here in Oregon that is just truly an incredible photographer. His name is Mark Adamus. And I think it's Drifting Thoughts is using one of his photos. Slows down. Let me take you to his website. He has a website, markadamus.com, MARCADAMUS. This guy is truly incredible. His photography is, and it's him in nature taking these photos, going to places, taking pictures at night with the northern lights in the Yukon, the wilds, just unbelievable places. He does photo tours now and takes people to these locations. So let me see, I'll make sure that you can see this. Yeah. So he's truly gifted. I mean, just look at that. That's with the ice that's got the brakes. I mean, it's like, so I love his work. So yes. Now, someone was asking about the MIDI CC. Let's do this. Let's init. And let's go over here and let's call up a cool synth sound from Guru Sampler. Like maybe, well, Battleborn is the nice, bright. And let's modify this a little bit. Okay. And let's have the mod wheel control the filter. Right? So now we're ready to play around with MIDI CC stuff. So go over here, call up under here MIDI box. Let's say we want to go to either the Cloud City or the standard factory library also has a folder that says MIDI box LFO. And you can choose any of these LFO patches, let's say pulse, eighth notes. And you have to click right here where it says notes/pedal. That says let notes through. So, and now we're pulsing. So then you go to your settings of your synth. To find out what shape you want it to be. And then we could try different MIDI files. And if you want it to be even deeper, go to like a 48 dB. And to find out if it's in sync, you could go to BPM pad. Let's say we right click and say add this into a new Unify layer and it's in sync. Let's go up here, let's have more fun. Let's go to let's right click. Now I'm gonna say no pitch shift because this is the drum groove element. So now I add that. And no matter where I play, I just get a drum groove. Let's go up here. Let's say we want to also add Ventura Boulevard. No pitch shift. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. you can, I mean, I'm gonna cry because it's so fun. I mean, that's why we made this, so you can just create and play. Right? So it's not more complicated than that. That's how fun it is. So, all right. Any other questions, you guys? Well, John, just so you know, the BBC DiscoverStation full version will be probably a $29 library. It won't be free. You get the bonus library that's out right now. That is free. But the full library, which will have, I'm going to go crazy with MIDI files playing all sorts of John Williams things that you'll be able to play and interact like you're doing drums. Imagine this with string arpeggio lines, and it's just going to be nuts, nuts, nuts. Can't wait. Nice, Garrett. I'm glad. I want to come to Holland someday, so hang on. Save a beer at table and I'll come hang out. Will you be able to change articulations? We should be able to, by MIDI files, change articulations, because the articulations can change from keys down low on the keyboard. So we should, in a MIDI file, even be able to change articulations. I don't know if, because there's no controls to change the articulations live. I tried to set up, if you go to the BBC library, there are real-time controls for these that access the parameters that you have. Reverb. They're fairly subtle. Oh, the other big thing that we added to Unify 1.7 is right here. You can have either fixed or it's naturally listening to MIDI CC 7 and 11 now for volume and expression. So you are now able to control volume of an entire Unify with MIDI CC from your hardware controllers or from inside of a sequencer, stuff like that. Let's see here. Hani asks when we might be able to get a shakuhachi flute. Yes, so I'm going to be going later this year. Don't forget to make a library for Analog Lab. No, I won't make a library for Analog Lab. I'll be making maybe something for Arturia. But it will be using all of Arturia's to make my own Analog Lab. Their Analog Lab is really limiting. It's not the way I'm going to go. So in that direction. Yeah, so Sonny and I are going to work on making a flute library later this year. When it cools down in Arizona, I'm going to go visit him. Or he's going to come up here to Portland or something. I don't know what we're going to do, but... It's so cool. I mean, if you have only, let's go, option. If you have just the BBC library by itself, you can play the cellos. Or you could open this up and you could choose the different sections. They're limited in the range, so it only plays. They're panned into positions. You have to sequence the whole thing before you get to what we can do with a single button click. And so, as I said, we are just warming up. You can see the directions I want to go. I want us to support other plugins by giving you access to their patches inside of Unify, because it makes them so much more powerful. To be able to call up and just play, it's so fun because they made so many cool sequence patches, right? For Obsession. So, right click, say load. Right click, load. Then go to BPM bass. It's fun. Then what I like to do, of course, is go over to the standard library, BPM drum, and just to a kick. Where's the BPM kick? I think, right? So say 4 on the floor. And off you go. Let's go like that, BPM clap. Let's get a couple different claps. No clicks? Get your dance on. And then go to Cloud City. Let's add a BPM tongue drum jam to this. Let's go to BPM percussion. Let's get a fancy sombrero going. So, the world is your oyster, my friends. That's the whole reason for Unify, is to make all of your plugins come together. And you can play with them, joining them in ways that you can't do anywhere else, faster than you can do it anywhere else. So you can write music, be inspired, have fun, be creative, and help me pay for Taylor Harris to be my assistant. So it's all good stuff. All right, well, I think we're gonna do our shout outs. Shout out from wherever you are in the world. There's so many of you guys watching, my gosh. Question, can all of this be recorded with the MIDI notes? Or is it represented by a single note? No, it's just a single note in your DAW, unless it's something you're playing chords with, but you're playing it as a plugin just like you're playing anything else. So if you're playing a BPM split patch, right? One of these big guys that does one with water. And this has a whole lot of stuff going on with the bass. And Shane has a question that popped up. Do you have tips for how to organize, consolidate your MIDI files? They can be easily located. Ooh, well, let me finish this. So this is a combination of an arpeggiated patch in the right hand. So this shows 4 notes in your sequencer. It's not gonna show us all the busy notes in the drums. Give me the mod wheel. It just shows us the notes that you're playing. Anything that's happening inside of Unify is internally happening and not clogging MIDI, okay? Organizing MIDI files is a challenging one, just like organizing sample library folders is also really challenging. What we have done, and you can study inside of, let's say, the Unify standard library, we have a MIDI files folder. I like to do things where they're drum or melodic, do things like that. If you have a certain project or a certain song that you're working on, I have like polychord for the MIDI, polyphonic MIDI things versus chord, which is where it's just playing something. Like if we go over here, standard piano, actually just say church would be the fastest. And just call up Church Steinway. And actually, I'm gonna get rid of 2 of these guys because it's just different envelope shapes. So it's just one. And then call up a MIDI box. And then say Unify Standard Library. And then say, if we go to the chords, these are just different chord ideas that I came up with. I should kill sustain. Probably go over here and say Unify filter, suppress. It still has sustain. That's strange. If I well, let's see here. And a lot of these MIDI files that are sequences like this, they work really well if you put jitterbox with them. Just to break it up, because a lot of these are quantized. And then just make sure that you go to MIDI box and turn on transpose if you're using these types. And then what I do is I'll add an extra empty layer because my offset's not right. Right? So I tuned it to make sure that, because whatever chords you're playing in your MIDI file, you might not be playing in the key of C, which is what the current root is. You could adjust this, or you can also just quickly just transpose it. Either one of those will change it to be where you want. We gave you both options in case you're doing drums, because drums you can't transpose the root. It would change the drum notes themselves. So, okay, so since that right, I could now, right? But organization is just one of those things to work at, getting it organized, at least by drum grooves and bass and chords. That's where I'd start. A lot of these MIDI file construction kits, they have bass and all sorts of things all in one folder. And you could pull those out and put those into separate folders to make it a little bit more organized if you wanted to, just to make it easier to navigate. Okay? All right, so shout outs. We started shout outs, and then, yeah, Jitterbox is, the whole purpose for Jitterbox is to humanize perfect quantizing. So it's subtle. Here's without it. And it's also really fun if you say delay like by a quarter note, give yourself the whole range, and then set it to arbitrary times of simple notes. And then double this. So go duplicate. I'll show you a fun trick I love to do. Turn this down and transpose it up an octave. So go transpose to plus 14. And then turn off Jitterbox on the first one. So you have this, and it's random timing for the second one. And I see lots of shout outs. So let's go. What are our shout outs? Right on, Marcel in Holland. You're welcome, Pete. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Shout outs to Denmark, to Arizona, Liverpool, the premier champions. Right on. Nice to see you, Sonny. From Idaho. Oh, Camino, ID, Washington, I think, right? Island? You're welcome, John. That's why we're here every week. Edinburgh, Germany. Right on, Andre. Good to see you, my brother. Ivar in Norway. John, do you have good news from Laurent? Nothing to announce right now. He's a very busy person on a whole bunch of levels. Thank you, Keith. Shout out from Switzerland. Good to see you, Bernie. Reggae from Ghana, Ohio. Oh, thank you, Reggie. Oh, Reggie. I said Reggie. Reggae. Ah, silly me. Good to see you all. All right, so be well, stay healthy, wear masks wherever you can. Let's all stay safe and not get sick together and get through this. And thank you for your support. And we will see you next week. And God bless.